Have you ever dreamt of a cake that could bring a drop of tropical sunshine to the grayest of days? Well, say hello to a hummingbird cake. Banana, pineapple, pecans, a lot of spices, and it's smothered in cream cheese frosting and topped with pineapple flowers. These are not flowers, they're made out of pineapple slices. Hey, you're watching Preppy Kitchen, where I, John Cannell, teach you how to make delicious homemade dishes to share with your family and friends. This cake isn't gonna make itself, so let's get started. First off, let's talk about the decoration scheme. The cake is not gonna have buttercream flowers, and it will never have fondant flowers. It will have pineapple flowers. The only tricky part is the knife work, so let's talk about that. First off, you want to cut the skin off. And let's chop these up. All I wanna say is chop with confidence and mind your fingers. So try and get a thin slice and confidently go down. This is too thick, but we can still use this, and we'll talk about that in a second. So down, thin slice, and you can massage the top half above the core, but when you get to the core, you have to go down. These make amazing cupcake toppers, by the way. And any discards that aren't right can just go into your smoothie the next day. You kind of have to get into the groove with cutting before you hit your stride. That's enough to get started with. The cake doesn't need to have like that many pineapple flowers. What we need to do now is inspect our flowers. This one's fine. Some of these are really thick on one side. So here, that's how you get a paper thin slice off. So when I'm cutting these slices, I'm actually pressing down. This is where most of the pressure is going. And very, very slowly, in a controlled fashion, I'm using my sharp knife to move forward. It's not a lot of force like this, it's forced down. That's the safe way to do it. Right now, I'm filming this video in like the depths of winter on the East Coast. So it's been very like gray and dark outside, and I'm having some friends over. So I thought it'd be fun to have like a warm tropical cake, which would mean a hummingbird cake is the perfect choice. All right, this finish slice will turn into a flower when it's dehydrated. We're gonna use some paper towels for this. Pop it onto a paper towel and press, 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 press. And you can see here, so much less water. The more water you squeeze out now, the faster they'll dehydrate. Here we go, one on there. Repeat the process. If you get little tears like this, it's totally fine, because like a flower, it'll have petals, and the petals help it crinkle up more. Okay, last one. Onto our baking sheet, into an oven at 250 for half an hour, and then every half hour, you're just going to carefully flip them over, and I actually pat them dry as well. It's like pat, 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 pat. When you lift it up, you'll see little beads of pineapple juice. I'll go pat, 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 dry, dry, dry. And then you're gonna be done with the oven time. After they've shrunk up a bit, they'll be noticeably drier and more golden in color. So into the oven, and we can start our batter. And yes, you can make these the night before. Before we make the batter, let's prep those pans. I'm making this cake as 3 6-inch layers, but they're gonna be very high, like tall 6-inch layers. 2 8-inch layers will work just fine though. A lot of people have 8-inch cake pans at home and might not have little 6-inch cakes. Butter those pans, coat them in flour. That's all ready. Now for the batter. 330 grams or 2 3/4 cups of all-purpose flour. There we go. Love being exact. Kitchen scales are the best. Now, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and I might have run out of salt, so I have to use the super fancy flaked salt, which is really for like garnish and decorating. That's a teaspoon, and I'm just gonna ASMR it in my hands. So let's crush it up. Use regular salt. 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of allspice, one of my all-time favorites. Doing half a teaspoon of cardamom too. It smells so good. If you don't have cardamom, get some. All right, let's sift it up. Giant salt flakes. Grab a whisk. Just whisk it up. We're done with the scale. This can get set aside, and now it's for those bananas. This is what you want. This is like the bare minimum of ripeness. If they're not spotted and brown, go ahead and just put them on a baking sheet and bake them at 350 for maybe 10 minutes. Disgusting for eating, but perfect for baking. These will work just fine though, they're very fragrant. So mash your bananas up. This gets set aside for in a little bit, and now we're onto the wet ingredients. For the wet ingredients, I'm using 3/4 of a cup of sour cream. Lots of moisture, not gonna be super oily at all. And if you don't have sour cream, you can use plain yogurt. 3/4 of a cup of vegetable oil, about 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I love how all the vanillas have a different aroma. That's Tahitian vanilla, and it almost has like a marshmallow cotton candy. All right, 3 eggs. Whoa. Gonna give this a little preliminary whisk to break up the sour cream. Definitely, yes, you could use a stand mixer for this, by the way. Ooh, that vanilla is so fragrant, I love it. 2/3 of a cup of white sugar, and then 1 cup of brown sugar. There you go, lightly packed. Let's whisk that in there. So while I was making that batter, my timer went off, and these guys are ready already. They didn't need any flipping because I got so much moisture out of them. They look kind of like flowers right now, but what we're gonna do is place them in here. So I'm placing them into a mini cupcake papers, and you just press down. So if you cut these thin enough and get enough moisture out, they really only have to bake for like 25 minutes or half an hour. And they will, depending on how dry they are, either take a long time or no time at all to set up, and you'll have like cute little flowers that you can decorate your cake with. We're gonna set these aside. Flowers are done, back to the batter. Time to add in that crushed banana, add in the pineapple, 8 ounces of crushed pineapple. That's like the small container you can get at the market. Okay, let's just mix that up really quick. So tropical already. 1 cup of toasted chopped pecans. Because you're getting all the texture and crunch and the fragrance of those pecans mixed in. Get those dry ingredients. We're gonna pour the wet into the dry now and mix it up. You can fold it in, beat it in, mix it in, whatever, just until just combined, don't overmix it. I got a DM on Instagram about my red velvet cupcakes the other day, and the person said that they were gluey and like chewy. It's because they'd overmixed the batter because they mixed the food coloring in at the very end. But my point is that you don't wanna overmix cake batter. It is a thing. So as you can see, this is a lot of batter, and it's totally cool to use 2 8-inch layers. You'll have thick, amazing layers in a big cake. I'm doing the 6-inch ones, which means I'm gonna have some batter left over. That's great. I could make a little personal cake for me to taste for you, and I can have the nice cake for my friends. That's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so let's divide the batter evenly into our prepared cake pans. And then I have more batter left over for me. Very excited for my personal cake. So 2 of my most favorite words. All right, let's pop some cake strips on these guys. Okay, I'm gonna pop my super old cake strips on here. These are basically strips of fabric that have been wetted, so they're damp now, and they'll cool the cake down on the edge as it bakes. That gives the center enough time to rise up at the same level as the side, which means you get flat cake layers. I have a whole video on it. You can click up over here for that. This guy's going in naked. It's domed. It's okay. It's just for me. I don't mind. Okay, these are gonna go into the oven at 350 for about 35 to 40 minutes. My little baby cake is gonna be done sooner, so I'll keep an eye on it. You wanna just make sure the center springy to the touch and the skewer will come out clean. My cakes are out of the oven, and while they're cooling, let's make some buttercream, but not just any buttercream, cream cheese frosting. This is a delicious treat. You need 2 8-ounce packages of cream cheese. That's 452 grams, I think. 1 cup of butter, shimmy on out of there. Close that up, paddle attachment, but you could use a hand mixer with beaters as well. And let's just cream these 2 together. After it creams up, I would just scrape the bowl down really quickly because it's never a bad idea. For the sugar, you can add in more or less. It's actually to taste. My recipe specifies 1 3/4 pounds of powdered sugar, but you can add more, you can add less. It's really how do you like your frosting to taste, and what is the consistency gonna be? The more powdered sugar you add, the stiffer it'll be and kind of the better for decorating, but you could add way less if you want. It'll just be more swoopy. Totally up to you. So I'll add this in a few cups at a time and mix on low. mix on low. Okay, you can see I've added in a little bit of sugar and it's very like, you know, it's very soft. So we're gonna add in a little bit more along with some vanilla. Back to my old friend, the babushka. So let's pop this on here. It helped. This whipped up nicely, and now I'm gonna add in a splash of vanilla. And just let it beat for a bit. Okay, look at this. So beautiful, oh my gosh. Okay, now for the assembly. Start off by piping a layer of that delicious buttercream frosting onto the top. You could add a sprinkle of pecans. You could add some pineapple pieces, anything you want, even coconut. Piece number 2, and look how perfectly flat that is. Do you see? Nice flat cake layers. My personal cake is not flat because there was no cake strip for it. It's very domed, but it's okay. Layer number 2. Layer number 3. Okay, now we're gonna cover the cake in more frosting. Now let's get those side layers. Whoa. That was just enough buttercream to almost cover the cake, but we're gonna take a lot off now in the smoothing process, so there'll be enough for my personal cake. That's all I care about. Now I will tell you, look at this. Do you see this lean? This frosting warmed up. The cake was not cool enough. So what we're gonna do is scrape this down, remove all the outside frosting, turn this into a crumb coat, pop it into the fridge, and now I'm going to add a little bit more sugar to the remaining buttercream and chill everything. Chilled the cake out, had the skewers in there so it stabilized, and we added more powdered sugar to the outside layer. And that'll just help it all be nice and comfy, cozy, not moving and hooving on over. Oh dear. I have a whole video called, I think, How to Decorate a Cake, with some ins and outs. You can click up here for that, but I definitely need to update it with more tips and tricks. There's so many things that can go wrong in cake decorating, and most of the times in videos, you don't see any of it. It's all like magic, like, ooh, everything went right, but so much can go wrong. And it's okay, you can save it, it's not a big deal. Most of this cake isn't even gonna be visible because on top, we're gonna have our beautiful pineapple flowers. And normally I like to have a totally flat top, but here I want a bit of a mound, which I'll actually be exaggerating later on in the cake so I can have some height for my flowers. And one thing I'll caution against with any cream cheese frosting is trying to get it to look too perfect. Don't, you're gonna drive yourself batty. Finish this step off by just using a clean napkin to remove the excess. That's all you have to do. All right, now I'm taking some more toasted chopped pecans. We're going to place them on the edge here. This is called a skirt for the cake, and it just adds some visual interest, but I always use things that I find delicious. So if it's a chocolate cake, I'll use like cacao nibs. For any kind of a fruity cake, I'll use like a toasted nut usually. Gives you some contrast, but also gives you some crunch and depth of flavor. And then if you're a little crazy, you could also just place a couple pieces hither and thither just to create a bit of a gradient. That looks good. And now here's what's gonna happen. You can add a little dollop on top of the extra frosting, tamp it down a bit. Tampa, Tampa, Tampa. Our little pineapple flowers had some time to set, and what we're gonna do is just add a few on the base here. So they're a little bit soft still, but that's okay because they're gonna be supporting each other because they're friends. So I'm making a little base of flowers, and then we're gonna put just the one on top like this. And if that is not a charming hummingbird cake, I don't know what is. Look at this. I love the pineapple flowers, and it's gonna go perfect on my personal cake, which is my tasting version. Don't you worry. Oh, that's pretty. So by the by, I did bake that 4-inch cake, cut it into 3 layers, and then decorate it. I just wanna show you the finishing touches. Just a couple of these little pineapple flowers here. I think it's so cute. This is my snacking cake I made for you. Normally, if there was any extra batter, I would just bake it up into cupcakes. But how cute is this? What? I'm so excited for this little personal cake I made myself, I can't tell you. And it's time for a bite. That is just a nice cake. If you ever had any love of banana bread, this is like the next step. It's the next level. It's delicious and you've got to try it. If you like this recipe, check out my flour cake playlist. Beautiful flour cakes to delight the senses, and they're delicious too. I hope you get to make this recipe, and if you like my videos, hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.